Hey, what's up, Dennis? This is a quick demo video for you for your Oggdo killer. I got this one done a little bit ahead of schedule. I'm waiting on some Profi boards to come in. The mail's been crazy lately, so I've skipped on to some CFX installs that I've got. So this one is installed with CFX. This is a one-button setup, so your switch is going to be right here. You've got a brass tactile underneath there, and then I gave you a real quartz crystal in there for a crystal reveal. And if you look carefully on this side, you can see one black tube, right? That's a black piece of shrink tube that I used to run my switch wires and all my LED wires and everything past that crystal. I just ran them in that black shrink tube so it wouldn't be an eyesore. And that's what's going on right there. So you've got CCSabers LED pixels in here. This is an extremely tight build. I thought it was a tight build when I did one for a Profi, but CFX board's a little bit bigger, and it was extremely tight in here. So I had to do a little bit of modification to this handle in order to make this fit. And I want to go over that with you. So I'm going to be a little bit careful because I've got your two greeblies here, this one, and then I've got that guy and this guy. I just put those on with some E6000 probably about 20 minutes ago, so I'm not going to get too crazy with it when I demo it. It's staying on pretty good, but it needs to cure overnight. So to get this handle off, what we want to do is this coupler right here, we want to unscrew it. And then as you're unscrewing it, it'll get tight on you and it'll stop. So when it does that, just pull the handle a little bit. You'll hear it click, and then you can go a little bit more, pull it a little bit, twist it a little bit more. And then on that third time, that should be everything, right? Yeah, everything. And then you can just pull the handle off. If you could tell when I was pulling that off, this chassis is extremely tight tolerance on here. I did that on purpose. So everything's nice and tight. Your battery in there is nice and tight. You see your CFX board right here. So I opted to put the board inside as much as I could. It's pretty flush with these threads here. And so you can put your finger right here and you can pop your board or your SD card in and out to put sound fonts on. But other than that, the board's hidden. There's no chassis retention screw in this guy. So like I did with my last one, when I did a Profi, because the chassis is such a tight tolerance, it's a nice, really tight press fit into this piece right here. So for whatever reason, if you say you needed to get to your board, you need to get to the back of your board for whatever, you would just unscrew this button right here, or this switch. I'll just do it real quick and show you. What we want to do is take this out first before we take this guy and kind of gently pull it out. And then you can kind of see your tactile in there maybe. Yeah, you can see your tactile switch in there. So that's how you do it. Once you take this switch off, this piece lifts up and you've got grub screws all the way around holding this emitter piece on. So that's what's going on there. That's the assembly. So you put those grub screws on, you slide this down, line up the switch hole, and then you screw your switch in, which is what we'll do right now. I had to go messing with it. No, it'll go in. There we go. I'll just screw it down all the way till it stops. You can hear a nice tactile feel in here. When your switch came, this top piece right here screws onto the assembly, onto the spring assembly here, but the threads were kind of worn. So what I had to do is I had to go in there with a little bit of JB Weld on those threads. You only have like a thread and a half to hold this guy down. So just a little bit of JB Weld on those threads, and I locked this upper piece in. So now it's all one switch assembly. You don't have to worry about it coming loose. So that's your board, right? It does say CFXabers over here in Arabic. I did put Oggdo Killer over here in English. You've got a 28mm bass speaker. You've got a removable battery system. So because of the tight fit of everything and the cramped space in the handle, this handle is kind of deceiving. You don't have that much space in here for an install. You've got, if I put this here where it needs to go, right there where that speaker ends, right here, that's as far as you've got to go in that handle, and the rest of then there's that diameter change right there. So because of that, I had to put the battery cradle just a little bit inside this guy. So your battery has to go in and then push in, and I'll show you how to do that. And I also had to take the, I took my positive terminal right here for your battery, and I actually had to squash it down a little bit so that I could get as much clearance for my battery as I could. It's still a nice tight fit, and actually if I hadn't squashed that down, the battery wouldn't have fit in there. I mean, this thing is just like tight tolerances all the way around with this guy. But we got it to work. One thing I will tell you is a modification I had to do is around this ring right here. I cut out a notch, this small notch right here. And that notch goes over this side of your board. So if you're looking at your board like this, right, and you've got it facing you, that notch has to go over the right side, the right corner of that board right here. Because if you don't, and you go over it with one of this rim piece that's not cut, and I found out the hard way, I knocked off a tiny resistor off the board that goes from your power to the board. So the board wouldn't start up, obviously. I didn't know why right away until I took everything apart, and I found a resistor laying on my mat. It's about the size of the tip of that guy. You know, I mean, it was tiny. It's got 3 legs on it. I had to solder it back to the board. Everything's good now, but this was what needed to be done so that it wouldn't hit that again. So what I'll end up doing is I'll end up taking a picture of this guy and sending it to you, and I'll circle exactly where I'm talking about. So that gap that I cut very neatly, I filed it down, I made it nice and smooth. It's not mangled in any way. There's just a gap right there. That gap needs to go over that piece of that board so we don't hit that resistor. And I saw a different chassis that came out yesterday for this guy, and it was cool, and it had the board, you know, it had trying to figure out how to say this. It had a little bit different of a layout, but didn't have a crystal chamber. So I wanted you to have a crystal chamber. That's what these cutouts are there for, you know, in my personal opinion anyway. So in order to do that, I had to back the board up a little bit, and we made it work. How we made it work. So we're gonna throw a battery in here. I'm having a little bit of trouble talking today because I got a million things running through my mind. So the spring side here, that's gonna be your negative. So remember what I said, your battery's gonna have to, obviously negative first, and it's gonna go inside the Saber a bit. It does fit in there, right? It's just super tight. And then we're gonna take this handle, we're gonna look at our groove. We're gonna make sure that groove, and it's easy to see because as I'm sliding it up, you can see it right there, right? So it's not like you gotta look down and everything. I mean, it's staring at you right here. So I'm just gonna make sure that groove is where it needs to be, and I'm gonna push this thing straight in. So when I push it straight in, I can start locking a few of my threads. And then the same thing that happened while we were going out is gonna happen when we're going in. So you're gonna thread a few threads, and it's gonna tighten up on you. So when it tightens up, just take this handle, push it forward, you'll hear it click. And you can go a few more threads, right? It'll stop. Another click. It'll stop. One more time. You just got to inchworm this thing up here until it stops, and then there we go. So by the time you got done doing all that, right, the board probably went to sleep. So we're going to tap the button to wake it up. We're going to hit it again to activate. You see your pixels are all lighting up well in there. Smooth swing. This is your sound venting, this hole right here. Get your crystal chamber. So if I tap for blaster deflex, you're not going to see much. Oh, I accidentally turn it off. Tap it for blaster deflex. Let me put a blade in it. It's a little bit easier to demo everything if there's a blade in it. So here's your blade retention screw. We're going to back that out real quick. Should have put a blade in it to begin with, but I wanted you to see that these guys were lighting up like they should. This does take a 1-inch diameter blade. I don't have a full-length blade at the moment. I got this little test guy, but it's a good blade. So I've got the pixels set at about 130 pixels. So that's a full-length blade, 3 foot, 36-inch blade. waking it up. Everything's working good. Now on a 1-button setup, you can tap your button for blast or deflex. If I had a full length, you'd see it randomly along the blade. To get blade lock up, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to hold this button and hit it at the same time. Just like that. And we'll turn it off. This is an electrostaff font that I was using to test it, but we can hold down our button when the blade is off and move to the next sound font.
Sound bank selection.
Jedi, prepare for death.
Now we'll tap it. We're going to do the unhinge, so just hold the button down. Tap for activation. See your crystal. Now what I was talking about for blast or deflex, right? Hold down the button and hit the blade at the same time. You see that in your crystal? In your blade? Just like that. And that's how you operate the saber. So we're going to take the battery out. I'm going to take this blade out first. And I don't think I actually brought my tool with me, but I'm going to show you what you need to do in order to take the battery out. So we're going to go here, right? We're going to undo a few threads till it stops, pull it, just inchworm our way out. Just like that. Now to get this battery out, I usually have a tool. I've got a pair of tweezers I didn't bring out here with me with a rubber coating, but either that or like a very hard guitar pick. I know Vader's Vault sends them out, or you can get a guitar pick anywhere. But anything on like a hard plastic like that, you're gonna wanna put it in here and just pry this guy out. And it will pop out very nicely with a tool. I just don't happen to have one with me. So I'll take this off after this video. But that is your saber, sir. I hope it came out the way you like, and I will get this out in the mail to you tomorrow morning. Thanks.